And this is another edition of Set It Straight with Doc Bots. My name is Todd Bavona from Gotham Trinity Productions. I'll be your host today, along with my co-host, Michael Graziuso, and partner at Gotham Trinity Productions. Mike and I are just going to go back and forth and talk about what we've been hearing in regards to COVID-19, aka coronavirus, and what's been going on. Mike, today I think you wanted to talk about a cure. What do you want to get into?
Well, you know what it is. It's like I walked out the house to walk the dog today, and I see this guy with a little wagon, saying he's got the coronavirus cure in this little bottle, and it's, so it's like people are like, suckering into this and they're buying this, but it's like, could this be an actual cure by some guy in a wagon on the street, or even if you see like an ad on like TV, should you even trust that?
Right.
Because see, I'm not sure, like, I'm not a doctor, so I don't fully understand, but you got DNA. You got DNA viruses and you have RNA viruses. And the problem is an antibiotic can't kill a non-living thing. So my understanding is the DNA, it's more complicated and it's living. And then an RNA virus is not actually a living virus. And then someone told me, I don't know. It's just, I think we should bring a doctor in.
Yeah, let's bring him right in, because there's too much. I didn't comment to begin because I just feel like I don't understand what a cure really means for this, and what it involves, what it takes, and what to believe at this point. Doc, go ahead.
Yeah, so Mike, you brought up a couple of things. I mean, the difference between viruses and bacteria, and living, non-living. Is a virus really a living thing? Because it needs a host to live, right? So it's a parasite in a sense, because it has to get into something else in order for it to do anything. That would be a whole high school biology or college biology class that probably we can avoid getting into right now. But you're right. Antibiotics, what we think of as being antibiotics, penicillin and Cipro and all these types of medicines, they are not going to kill these viruses. So people are taking azithromycin and they're taking other things like plaquenil. Those have not really shown a serious efficacy, and there are some side effects. So I think we have to be really careful about what people are selling as cures. The studies for plaquenil are terrible. So people will say things like, well, it can't hurt, can it? Well, I don't know. Can it? It actually can. It can damage the retina. There's other things that can happen with use of certain medications. But think of it this way. When you get the flu, what medicine do you take? You take antivirals, right?
Yeah,
you take an antiviral medication. And those antiviral medications specifically help to interfere with viral replication. We don't necessarily have something we know for sure can do that in the coronavirus, but they're under investigation in the hospital, and people have been put on these medicines, and we're getting some numbers now from some of the clinical trials that will answer that question. So is there a cure? No. The best cure is don't get it. Right, that's the best cure.
Straightforward, very simple. Is stay at home. Can you talk about? I've heard they're trying AIDS medication. I hear they're trying anti-malaria drugs. I hear the hydroxychloroquine, whatever it is. I can't pronounce it. Again, like Mike, not a doctor. So I'm with you. But what is that? Could that develop? Could that be a possibility, or is that just to treat? Is that a short term get you well, but not a preventative cure?
I think of it this way. I read a book this year called Bellevue, which I highly recommend people read. Whenever the medical community is introduced to something it's never seen before, we will try anything to save people from the disease. And so we try to use the best evidence we have. So plaquenil or hydroxychloroquine, which is the medicine you're describing, the anti-malaria drug, had been used in other situations with other outbreaks and had some success. That led some French researchers to put together a trial, and it was a very small trial. And anybody who can understand scientific method knows that the type of trial they did wasn't well controlled, and it wasn't randomized, and there was a lot of flaws to it. And so the information we take out of it is flawed. So as time is going on, we're getting more refined with the types of studies we're doing. And so antiviral medications that are directed at HIV, for example, with the human immunodeficiency virus, are being trialed right now against this coronavirus. Will it work? We don't know yet, but the numbers that we have enrolled will give us better answers than the trials that have been done so far. Think of it this way. In the old days, they treated bacterial infections with like mercury or sweating or leeches. How effective are those things?
Right. Yeah. No. Yeah, exactly. Can't be doing that. So the cure, to be clear, the whole world's working on this. I've seen articles from doctors in Australia. There's people in Europe trying one thing, and there's people in this state and that state in the U.S. trying another thing. So the cure, as complex as it is, I think you mentioned this the last episode in regards to testing and how are we going to test. The cure, same kind of deal. It's a long ways away, and it's a process, right, Doc?
It's a process. And, people are talking about the vaccine, and maybe this will be a situation in the future where every year you get your flu vaccine and you get your corona vaccine. I don't know that that's going to happen. But the big thing right now is don't get infected. And I'll say this, Chris Cuomo, I'm not a big fan of media outlets at all, but I think he did an excellent job in summarizing his experience. And you're going to see more and more of this. There's a doctor from a hospital locally who just published an article of his experience with this infection. What people are saying is the keys are hydrate, sleep as well as you can, because this thing really beats you up, and it's hard to sleep when you have a fever and you're sweating and you're aching. Make sure that you're doing some version of breathing exercise. Try to expand those lungs, open up your breathing mechanism. I put together a video on meditation and breathing and breathing exercises a while ago, but the simple way to do this is just count your breath. Count 4 seconds in, hold it 4 seconds, release, and repeat, and just keep trying to keep those lungs open if you are infected and you're treating at home. And when you have a fever, you're losing a lot of fluid. So your temperature is high, your metabolism is running at a high rate. You're losing fluid directly through sweat, through breathing. You got to make sure you're hydrating well. So it's all those things Grandma would do if you were sick that are helping the most.
Great point. Everything Grandma would do. Go ahead, Mike.
No, it's everything Grandma would do. I remember hearing a story about my great grandma in Sicily, that how my great grandfather was sick, and they put dead rabbits on him to bring out the infection, and this is how they cure. Yeah, no, I know. It's like, and I remember
that's like cupping, right? You guys ever try cupping? You ever do
cupping?
The cupping
Yes.
thing? That's
the
another
cupping
ancient Italian. That was from the Italians.
That's from the Italians. Michael Phelps was doing that. They were
That's
all
when it became popular. Yeah.
2016 Rio Games. Yeah.
That's right. And that's what happens. Somebody sees somebody else do it, and there's a lot of superstition. There's not a lot of good science on those kinds of things.
Exactly, and that's what we got to try to get people to learn. To know.
And that's why we're here with Set It Straight with Doc Botts. He brings up a great point, and that'll probably be our next episode, is symptoms. How do you know you have it? How to self-diagnose and how to take care of yourself. He touched on that a little bit, but I think in the next episode, Doc Botts will set it straight right here from Gotham Trinity Productions.